happening in Arkansas on KARNNewsRadio.com.
All right, so Scott got on his texting and got a hold of the folks over at the Republican Party of Arkansas, and we're trying to get Doyle Webb to come on to talk a little bit more about this story about State Representative Hyde. I find it interesting, and I'm reading a story from the Leader, this from last week, November 9th, saying that English has no roots in the community and no skin in the game. When, in fact, that's not the case at all. You've lived there for how long?
30 years.
30 years. So if that doesn't qualify as roots, I don't know what would.
And I've represented parts of Jacksonville and Sherwood and North Little Rock and Maumelle. So, and this new District 34 comes within about less than half a mile from my house. So those people would all be part of that district. And
I like how Mr. Hyde says, I think people who were abandoned. How are you abandoning anybody? You're serving them to 2013.
That's right. That's what I notified them.
And then in the area that you've been living all your life in, or 30 years for, you're starting to represent them.
Right.
It's bizarre. Anyway, this ethics complaint that was brought from Doyle Webb, quoting Representative Hyde needs to explain how he is purchasing campaign advertising with zero expenditures reported. The people of Arkansas deserve to know. Now, Representative Hyde characterized the ethics complaint as a partisan potshot. Quote, in our political climate, the other party likes to say, gotcha, when they can, he said. After the Republican Party filed the complaint, Hyde did say he discovered that a newspaper advertisement costing about $1,000 may have been improperly paid. Sometimes we make an error, he said. I'm understanding that that $1,000 may be multiplied by about 30 times. So I'll keep you up on that. Jason Tober just sent me the story that TalkBusiness.net ran on this as well. And we're trying to get Doyle Webb. We're trying to work it out for him to join us here and talk to us further. You had one more. You could have served one more term in the state legislature. You decided to run for the state senate. What were the reasonings behind that decision? It was an open position, and I had said for over a year that I would run for that Senate seat if, in fact, Mary Ann Salmon, she was term limited, so she had to retire. Okay. So I believe I have a good message, and I think we have to begin to look at where do we want the state to go. We're 49th. We've been 49th for a long time. We may be 6th in the amount of money we spend on education, but that doesn't mean that we are great in education. We have so many people who have dropped out of school who don't have a high school diploma. We need to make sure that we have a good business climate, make sure that things like the Department of Workforce Services and all of the claims that are being filed for unemployment, that we're not putting a hardship on some of our businesses. Same with tax reform, same with environmental regulation. Some of these rules just begin to creep up on people and businesses, and they end up paying lots of fines for things that they probably don't need to do. Yeah, can I join? I want to jump in talking about business, because the governor has been, can we say, very, very, very quiet about the Keystone pipeline coming down from Canada, and the president now has decided that they're not going to make a decision on this until after the election in 2013. And this could very well, Spun is the company that's making the majority of the pipeline for this, could cause the loss of hundreds upon hundreds of jobs in Wellspun, yet the governor is strangely quiet on all of this. I think they're strangely quiet on most of the things that come out of Washington, D.C. and out of from the president's agenda. They really don't have much to say about it. I'm not sure that they want to jump on board with it. I think they sometimes just would like to leave it alone. But you're right about Wellspun. And I think when you look at the Keystone pipeline,
The word I heard the other day was that the president had said this was only short-term 20,000 jobs. But if you look at what the requests that he has for infrastructure bank, and those are exactly the same kinds of jobs. They're construction jobs that aren't long-term jobs.
Paid by tax dollars, paid by private industry.
Exactly.
And it's only
1,000 jobs.
Short-term jobs. I mean,
but short-term could be
surely they're not
7 or 8
being paid,
years.
are they?
Right.
I want him to go out and tell my son that, who's working out at Wellspun. Hey, it was just a short-term job anyway. Sorry, you're on a gig.
We talk a lot about wanting to create jobs and put so many roadblocks in front of business and industry that make it very, very difficult for them to do their jobs. And I think that we have said here in the state that we have a good business climate, but as time goes on, that business climate sometimes deteriorates, and when you start talking to small business people, you hear that things are not as rosy as you would like them to be.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me. I mean, seriously, it makes no sense to me at all that the governor is quiet on this. He's not getting behind lignite coal. There's another area that we feel that there could be thousands of jobs created. I don't believe the guy really is, and I'm going to say right up front, there's all these people who have this really positive view of the governor, but if you really sat down and looked at what he's done, I got to scratch my head and wonder why they've got such a positive view of the governor, other than he's pretty good on television with a soundbite.
I think I heard him say the other day we need to sort of keep things as they are. Oh,
yeah, that's what we want to do.
No, I don't think we want to do. In fact, I was at the Little Rock Air Force Base, and Senator Pryor was a speaker, and he has introduced some legislation that would help the lignite. And
well, good for him.
Yes.
He heard us the other day with the net neutrality vote.
Right. Yes, exactly.
So anyway, bottom line is, this stuff about you, Jane, is nothing more than just noise.
Oh, well, and as I mentioned earlier,
they're trying to drown out your message.
Right, and if you don't have a message, then you do what I think people are beginning to do, and this reminds me of the high school clique, where this is our clique, our group, and nobody else gets to be part of it. Well, I think that we have lots of folks in the state of Arkansas who don't believe that anymore. I think that they believe they want to be part of the solution. I think people want to be able to have good jobs here in the state for their kids, for themselves, for their grandchildren. They like to make sure that people think we don't pay many taxes here, but tax dollars here, lots of our citizens are paying a lot of money in taxes. We need to make sure that those taxes are well spent and that there's oversight, and that our agencies are not just bureaucrats who are running their own show, that the legislature has the oversight, make sure that things are going as they ought to go.
All right, when we come back with Jane English, we'll talk about transparency in government and knowing if what government is doing is working. Jack Heinrichs now with your local news.